What is research? Research comprises of intellectual investigation of human efforts aimed at discovering, interpreting, and updating knowledge on different aspects. It is an organized and systematic way of finding solutions to problems. Zora Hurston said, research is formalized curiosity. It is poking and prying with a purpose, with an intent to contribute to the existing body of knowledge. Redman and Mori, in their book on the romance of research, define it as a systematic effort to gain new knowledge. The Oxford Dictionary defines research as the systematic investigation into the study of materials and sources to establish facts and reach new conclusions. Research facilitates effective management, and for effective decision making, we need to generate accurate information. The information should be gathered systematically, and decision makers should empathize with an objective investigation rather than being intuitive. The core features of research. Research starts with a problem presented in the question. Research attempts to identify a problem stated in clear, unambiguous terms. Research requires a plan. It categorizes aims, objectives, and key questions. Research deals with the primary problem through appropriate subproblems. Research seeks direction through appropriate hypotheses and draws upon apparent assumptions. Research deals with facts and their meaning. The primary aim of any type of research is to find out the reality and facts which are unknown. The research aim expresses the intention or aspiration of the research study. It summarizes in a single sentence what you hope and wish to achieve at the end of the research. The aim should be specific and phrased by using SMART concept: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. Although each research aim has its reason for providing an answer to the research question, the aim of the research is to achieve skillfulness or to get different opinions by investigating a problem which is not clearly defined, to establish the relationship with something which occurs or is related, that is, study concerning whether certain variables are associated, and to test the hypothesis of a reasonable liaison between different variables and assessing the plausibility by using sample data. This type of research falls into hypothesis testing research. Stating research objectives is the starting point of research. Research objectives divide research aim into several parts. The main objectives of research not only determine the scope and depth of the task at hand, but also provide an overall direction to the research. To simplify, the research aim specifies what needs to be studied, and research objectives comprise of a number of steps that address how research aim will be achieved. Objectives may range from general to specific. The general objective underlines tasks aimed at in a generic or overall perspective, whereas the specific objectives split up the general objective into smaller, specific, sequential questions addressing the various aspects of the problem. Specific objectives specify precisely what you will do in each phase of your study, how, where, when, and for what purpose. Generic research objectives are to explore a new idea, to gain insights into the occurrence of a phenomenon, to understand the characteristics of an individual, situation, or event correctly and with accuracy, to identify the frequencies of occurrence of events, to establish a cause and effect relationship, to test the relationship between two variables. Specific research objectives essentially focus on answering the three W and one H questions by understanding problem constraints. These three W and one H are what, why, when, and how. What this element talks about what are the problems and around what critical areas the research shall focus. Clarity at this level involves thorough insight into aims, objectives, and the problem overview. Why? This element involves an assessment of the current scenario and why it has led to this choice of problem. It could hint at possible lacunas in information and decision making which research intends to answer. This step would involve a review of available literature to understand the problem scenario and identify and describe variables connected to it. When this element every research is prone to be impacted with the time frame constraints, this step talks about the inquiry setup and its efficacy as linked up to specific scenarios. And the element how is one of the most critical elements since the blueprint or the research design starts here. Based on the problem, its aims and objectives, we would establish the data sources, the research instruments, quantitative statistical measures to be deployed, the evaluation techniques, and the presentation techniques. All types of research can be classified into two major divisions, basic and applied. Basic research is fundamental research driven by a scientist's curiosity. The motivational drive to the researcher here is to expand knowledge, not to invent. The purpose and objective of this category of research is to present assimilated knowledge in an organized form which may be eventually shared and put to use by others. Applied research, on the other hand, is designed to solve practical problems rather than to gain knowledge. Applied research aims to prove a specific hypothesis of value to clients paying for the research. The orientation of applied research is on testing out facts and associations presenting data, which were the focus of primary research. A detailed classification of research categories would include descriptive versus analytical, quantitative versus qualitative, and conceptual versus empirical. Descriptive research includes service and fact-finding studies, whereas analytical research uses real facts or information for analysis to make a critical evaluation. Descriptive research consists of inquiries or investigations of different kinds. The primary purpose of descriptive research is an explanation of the set of circumstances as given. Applied research refers to finding a solution for a specific practical problem. The problem is often associated with various fields faced by individual, society, industries, or sectors like economics, politics, health, business, etc. Whereas fundamental research, also called basic research or pure research, is mainly concerned with the formulation of a theory and improvement of scientific knowledge. The primary aim of applied research is to find out a solution to some critical practical problems. In contrast, fundamental research is handling towards finding information that has an overall sense of application to already existing knowledge. In natural sciences and social sciences, Quantitative research is related to an object that is expressed in terms of quantity or something that can be counted. Such type of research involves a systematic experimental analysis of observable phenomenon via statistical, mathematical, or computational techniques in numerical form such as statistics, percentages, and more. In contrast, qualitative research is a concern relating to quality or variety. Such type of research is typically descriptive and more laborious to analyze than quantitative data. Conceptual research relates to some abstract idea. It focuses on the concept and theory that explain the concerned problem under study. Philosophers and theorists use it to develop new concepts or to gain understand the existing ones. On the contrary, empirical research relies on experience or observation alone. It is a way of gaining knowledge, utilizing direct and indirect observation or experience. We can also refer to it as an experimental type of research. Researches with various designs and methodology adapted for different purposes may be tested upon their degree of efficacy and quality and processes of conduct and the subsequent results furnished. For researches to be acceptable and incorporated into business processes, every research must satisfy the given parameters. The first is reliability. Every research has to be free from individual biasing. There is no scope of allowing room to suggested alternatives on account of researchers' individual preferences. Objectivity. As far as possible, the elements of research should be objective. The objectivity in process and design facilitate testing, which reduces the chances of arriving at individually preferred or biased options. Validity. Research must have applicability of results stretching to various time frames and in similar constraints. Unless specified as a specific limitation to specific research, results arrived at must hold for similar conditions and multiple time frames and across geographical boundaries. Suitability. The findings of the research must match with the problems and objectives suggested at the beginning. If any deviations from the objectives are noticed, the results would be misleading. The process and efforts on gathering data would become futile. Research facilitates effective management and informed decision-making. It generates accurate, systematically gathered information that enables objective investigation rather than intuitive choices. Research enables better decisions. Systematic information gathering supports objective, evidence-based choices, solves real problems. Research identifies root causes and develops practical solutions for complex issues, advances knowledge, contributes to existing body of knowledge, and informs future research and practice. Rigorous, systematic investigation grounded in clear objectives, sound methodology, and quality standards transforms curiosity into actionable knowledge that drives progress across all disciplines. Research is the bridge between questions and answers, a formalized process that turns human curiosity into reliable knowledge through systematic investigation, careful planning, and adherence to quality standards.